I'm Lyndsey Monahan, and I'm a financial advisor. And what I'm here to teach you guys about is how money works. So big thank you to Mike and Sean Acquisto because they're so awesome. They want me to teach everybody that they're affiliated with how this works.
Perfect. Thanks, Lindsey. Good morning. Good morning. It is good to see you. And Lindsey's here. So Lindsey has some walk-in music. We have Wagon Wheel going on. That is my favorite song that I like to yell out whenever there's a band and you have to yell out like, hey, play this song. So whenever that happens, I will yell, hey, play Wagon Wheel. And they're like, everyone requests that song. And so it's just a thing.
Took ate some hootie this morning.
So try it out whenever you're out and there's a band. Just say, hey, play Wagon Wheel. And they'll be like, you're so annoying. Like,
and think of me because that's my walk-up song, evidently.
There you go. All right, Lindsey, thank you for being here. We do appreciate it. Everyone here with Acquisto Real Estate totally knows Lindsey, and she gets some applause. So the applause-o-meter is going off for Lindsey. Nice job. Hey, hold up the book.
All right.
All right.
How Money Works.
Tell us about that, Lindsey.
Okay, so How Money Works is a book written by Steve Seibold and Tom Mathis. And what the whole concept of this is to help teach people about financial literacy. So I absolutely love this book. Financial literacy is a huge deal to me because I think it's the one thing everybody has to use in their life.
Okay.
How money works, right?
Yep.
And we're never taught about it in school.
Okay. Well, I guess unless you get certain degrees but no, right. You're very correct.
Yeah.
All right.
So this book has a lot of good stuff in it. It's written from the perspective that a 14-year-old can pick up this book and read it.
Okay.
And not have any problems with it, understands all the concepts in it. For somebody like me and Mike, it's probably about like a 45-minute read.
So I read, let me see the book. All right. All right. Oh, okay. All right.
That's
fair.
Big words and pictures in it.
There's a lot of pictures, and it's got really high quality paper.
Yes.
Okay. Good. Wow. That's it. Yes, that's an impressive book.
Very impressive. So anybody that's interested in getting a copy of this book, I have about 500 copies in my possession right now, and so you can have one for free.
Is that like your workout? You just carry around 500 books like at all times just to work out?
See these big muscles?
All right. Interesting. All right. So Lindsey, let's take a step back and we'll talk about our business relationship that we've had here for quite a while and why we try to do certain things.
Okay.
So from our perspective here, it's very important that when we have a transaction that we complete with a client and we're going through this process, that they just dramatically changed their whole finances. And now they have a huge, huge asset that is theirs, right? And so they went from maybe cash to an investment. They changed all this around. So now they have a real estate investment. Depending on how much money they put down, they could dramatically change things one way or the other. And when this takes place, we, Shauna and myself, both feel it's extremely important that they now have the next discussion on how to protect that asset or how they should modify things or what they need to start doing moving forward. There's certain like checkpoints as you go through life. And so now they have their first job, so they bought their house. They have those things established. And it's a really good time for them to take a breath, understand where they're at, set the benchmark, and talk to a true professional. And that's where you come in.
Absolutely.
You are your career, you define yourself as?
So I am an independent financial advisor. I do all my brokerage services through New York Life. So many of you have probably seen that I carry a New York Life business card. It's primarily because they are my broker dealer. Just like y'all have a broker dealer that you work with,
okay.
I have to have one too.
Okay.
And so I do full-on financial advising, or I can do transactional sales. So where we sit down and we talk about your personal finances. If we find gaps, we can fill them one of two ways, either on a transactional basis. An example of that would be, I do a lot of when somebody buys a home, we sat down and we make sure that they actually have enough life insurance or enough personal assets to cover the cost of a mortgage. So God forbid somebody not make it, then
I'd be out. All right, so Shauna on her own, can she make it?
So Shauna on her own, can she pay for the house by herself? And you guys' situation, awesome, you guys can, that's great. Not a lot of people can do that. And so what we do is we make sure that there's a gap filled there with either life insurance or personal assets of another form to make sure that the other spouse can take care of the mortgage. And then on the flip side of things, if somebody already has all the basics set up and they're looking for a little bit more help with financial planning going forward, we do everything on a transformational basis that way. So we'll sit down, do a full financial analysis, pull in tax returns, all that kind of stuff, wills, trusts, estates, all that, and review everything. The really cool thing about working with New York Life is that I'm privileged to be able to work with one of the higher end pieces of our company. And so there's 25 attorneys that I have accessible to me at any time where I can send up your wills, trusts, and estates, have them reviewed, and they'll poke holes in it, find any gaps, anything like that. And then we work back with your financial team to make it all work. So I don't have a CPA that I work with or that I prefer to work with or an attorney. We work with my clients.
Okay.
And whoever they like to work with.
All right. So that's really good stuff. There's different times. So I talked about like when you purchase a home, and that dramatically changes what's going on. The wife and I recently went through a time where the kids went from, like being small, and, you'd have things when they were younger, which I didn't realize, but I can reflect on. So as they were younger, you had like daycare expenses, right? So they go off, and if you are working and you send your child or children somewhere else, you have this expense, right? For childcare and daycare and their education. Then if you're fortunate, they go to a great private or a great public school, and that's complimentary.
Like Frisco, I see.
It's paid for with your taxes, okay? So that was a huge breather for us. All of a sudden, when the kids went to kindergarten, we're like, oh, this is amazing. We don't have to pay that anymore. And then we realized that they needed a whole host of other things immediately thereafter. So then it's like every sport and all those things. And then it seemed like they went on like trips all the time with school, and there was all this stuff to pay for. But that was so small. Now that I look back at it, that they were always like asking for $20 or raising money for this or that. And it was like kind of smaller stuff, but it was expensive at the time. Then they get older and you're like, oh no, then they start needing things like phones, which are an expense, but then there's like a car, and then there's clothes, and luckily we had boys, but you have a girl, and now they have all these things and they become high maintenance possibly.
And then they need college.
Well, so that was the big one. That's what I was really getting to, that I totally understand now, right? And it becomes a real challenge because you think you're ready. Then all of a sudden you send the first one, and you're like, okay, fine, we got through the first year because that was such an expense, right? And then the next year it comes again, and you're like, okay, that one hurt a little bit more, but we're okay. And then they go back and they're like, now they're a junior, and that's cool because now they're getting closer to being done, but now you have another one that goes into school, so you're like, you pay again.
Now you got double tuition.
Yeah, and then the kids get older, and then you find out, oh wait, we have 3 kids, not 2. And then it happens again.
What was I thinking? Where'd they come from?
What? So the expenses just keep coming.
They do.
And you think you're ready, and then they just throw grenades at you and like of what they need expense-wise.
Oh, yeah.
And you always want to help, and then the car breaks down, and then you're like, oh my gosh, why did I buy you a car? And just all this stuff happens, and it's really, really expensive, right?
Yep.
So then you get through all of that, hopefully, and you come out the other end. And then Sean and I are able to take a breather and like, so what do we want to do now? Because we got used to having to earn X amount of money to be able to pay for, right, for the kids. And then all of a sudden we're able to take a breather and we're like, whoa, this is way better. Like, what do we do now? So our financial life changes.
Exactly. And so the good thing is, throughout all those periods in life, a financial advisor can help you. So if it's from getting your first job and developing a budget. I have a client I'm working with right now where that's literally all we're doing is sitting down and doing a budget, and I'm teaching her how money works and how to work a monthly budget because she doesn't have a lot of experience in that space. Then when you start talking about college, well, first of all, having children, we're having discussions about, okay, mom and dad, I know it feels like it's an eternity away because it's 18 years from now, but that 18 years, as you just mentioned, goes by super fast. And so what can we do to make everything just kind of happen, right? Like you want to be really disciplined in your life with things. Disciplined about working out, disciplined about eating right, all those good things. Money is the exact same way. You have to be very disciplined about it. And so building those tracks early and sticking with them makes a huge difference when you're talking about funding college education, for instance. So that's another one. And then, of course, when they need to buy a car, we need to have a plan for that. We need to have a plan for when they go to college. And then hopefully when you guys are done with kids going to college,
Okay.
you want to make some adjustments to, I don't know, let's say maybe you want to use that college tuition that you were funding to now fund your retirement more, or build up what we call passive retirement. So let's say you want to retire at age 50.
Okay.
I'd love to be able to do that.
Okay.
You'd probably love to be able to do that.
I don't really know.
Maybe
My brain.
I don't know.
So my brain, I have a different philosophy on certain things. So I suppose it would be great to be prepared and have the opportunity or option to do what you want to do.
Exactly.
I enjoy what I do every day. I think that there is something to pushing your brain, being involved, being active that will keep you younger. I don't know that I want to have to work. Mm-hmm. I want the ability to. I want the opportunity to not have to if it's not fun or not what I want to do for myself. But yeah. So.
We talk a lot about the work optional lifestyle. Like that's kind of like the ultimate retirement goal, be able to do the things that you love about your job, but maybe not have to do all the things all the time with your job. And so that is really where we talk about, okay, what does retirement look for you? And let's build a plan towards that. So again, give yourself options. Yeah.
So Lindsey, as I've been aging, I've been thinking about a bunch of different things. I've been thinking a lot. And, you know, I look at things more holistically and I don't get as nervous about things as I used to. You come out the other end, you realize like, oh, everything all worked out and you're able to put everything together. But so looking at it more holistically, I see a value in like work-life balance. I see a benefit to stepping away and being able to vacation or do things a little bit more frequently. Yeah. And where the benefit is there. I think Sean and myself really mentally, emotionally, spiritually benefit from being able to step away from work just a little bit.
Absolutely.
The business that we are all in within real estate, it seems like we work 7 days a week.
Yeah.
And the reason is because we do.
Because if you're not working on Saturday and Sunday.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, somebody else will, and they'll take your
your
client, and they'll be like, "Hey, thank you. We appreciate the commission check. You did all the work, and now we just get to swoop in at the end." So it is a problem in our business. We have. It seems like people at like 7:30 in the morning will be like, "Hey, it's a great time to start working," and so they will reach out to us first thing in the morning, and because they want to talk to us on the way to work. Yes. So they'll start calling us because it's convenient for them. And we're like, awesome, it's 7:30 and you're calling me and emailing me and texting me. That's cool because it's good for you. So that's when our day starts. Then we're professionals, so we work through the day. All right, so now we work all day from 9 to 5 because people think that's like we're professionals. That's what we should do. Then all of a sudden the client gets in the car and they're done with their job. And then they feel the best time to call my agent would be as soon as they get in the car on the way home from work. So I'm going to call them at 5 and I'm going to call them at 6 because like I'm having dinner and I'm with my husband and we're getting ready and we're thinking about.
We can actually talk about it.
Not with my husband. That was from a female perspective that I said that.
Because I switch genders.
Because I always think that women call late at night. The guy never does. It's always the woman calling late at night. So anyways, when the woman and their husband are together and they feel the best time to call is at night. And then they continue to call all night long. And they call through supper and they call at 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night. And then there's a contract. And the contract always rolls to Sunday night at like 9:42.
Sure. Is
when the contract gets written. So starting at 7:30 till 9:42 all day, every day, then take some time off. So more holistic, take a little bit of time off, step away, allow the people in process to work and things go all right. But that's why you have people like you to help center us. I was sitting there the other day, Lindsey, and I was like, you feel a lot like I'm talking to my sister. I just feel comfortable when I get to talk to you. Yeah, we did. And we feel comfortable together because you're easy to share with. I think you bring up good insights. And that would be the one thing that I would like to, that's primarily why we feel comfortable in fully recommending and endorsing Lindsey and Byron. Why is Byron not here? What is he doing? Is he sleeping?
No, he's actually at work this morning. He had a 9 o'clock client meeting this morning.
All right. So what she's saying is Byron's too busy for us.
He's not.
That's what I read. That's nice to know, Byron. Thanks. He does show up at Bro Lunch this week. He was there.
He is at Bro Lunch, yeah.
That was really good. All right. So, but I do feel 100% comfortable in recommending them mostly for the reason that they are really good people. Okay, they're around, so you will have interactions with both Lindsey and Byron. The purpose for that is to get to understand, know who they are as individuals, right? The more we get to know each other, the more we get to spend quality time and spend community together, then we're able to grow things together, right?
Yeah.
I want you to feel very comfortable in passing somebody off or one of your clients off to Lindsey and having them check on things. They could be in a great financial situation.
Absolutely.
But having a second set of eyes, looking at it from a different perspective, picking it up and turning it, being like, hey, you didn't look from over here, often helps.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
That's what I really appreciate about you guys, is the fact that you're a good person. I think you really care. It's easy to tell you things, and you listen and comprehend it, and then we can have an in-depth discussion on what it is. So that's my perspective on why I feel totally comfortable with it. A lot of the other financial advisors that I came across try to put themselves in a position of authority and put themselves here. And I've seen this especially with like professional athletes or a lot of older women, when they're like widowed women, that I see a financial advisor come in from here. And from the outside, I can totally see what's going on.
Yeah.
But what this person does is they put themselves in this position and they act like a macho man or like they're in power, right? And then what they do is they speak down to the other person. And the people that it is most often is like a rich, affluent athlete, a younger person who is needing to look up to somebody.
Sure.
Whether it's a father figure, a coach, a teacher, somebody that they always looked up to, right? And this person comes in and fills that void, and it feels natural to them. Mm-hmm. But what they do is they now speak down upon them and preach to them and instruct them and like, ugh. And I see it. And it feels really, really bad. And then from the other side as well, that same individual, how that action takes place, it's because the female in most cases ends up being older and widowed, and they have money because they're now older and those things happen. The husband passed away, and now that financial advisor is like filling that void that was up here, right? Mm-hmm. So I see it from that perspective, and the same thing where this person is controlling and doing because it was a different generation, different time. And they're speaking down and guiding them, and they're not always giving them the best advice. I feel the advice from the person who puts themselves in that position is often self-serving, and they are doing things that are higher commission for them and better for them and easy.
That's true. I think that one of the things that I feel comfortable with is when I'm working with a client, I will always let you know a couple of different options. Like, that's my thing, I guess, if I have a thing as a financial advisor. If you come to me and say, Lindsey, I have this goal, I'm going to say, okay, let's look at 2 or 3 different ways to get to town.
Okay.
Because then it's in your court on how you want to handle it. I may not know this one little nuanced thing that you have going on in your background. Mm-hmm. And so the best thing I can do is bring you options and let you decide. The other thing I'll say is at any point in time when I'm working with a client, they always have the ability to ask me, like, okay, why did you say this over that? Mm-hmm. And what's your commission on this versus that? And I don't have an issue sharing that with people because you know that I make a living doing what I do, right?
Yeah.
I should be forward in being able to share that.
Okay.
Just like with you guys in real estate, every single person involved in that transaction sees what you make. Mm-hmm. It's part of what we do. And being transparent helps bring that level of authenticity to the table, I think, and allows you to see what I do and how I do it.
Okay. So that sounds good. We are concluded on time, so I'm going to hit pause here. You guys can jump off and we'll end that segment. I do have a couple of other things that I wanted to talk with you about. We'll stay recording so we have that documented here. So if you want to stay along, please go ahead and do that. And we'll continue to talk through some things that I think are important, but we'll conclude this at 9 o'clock. Best of luck to everybody. Have a great day. We'll see you next time. All right. So a couple of other things that, there's just so much to this on why it's important. And from my perspective, I've seen so much of what we're trying to do over the years change. And it's amazing that at different times in life, what's number one in priority, and then what's number 2 and what's number 3.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you get 3 or 5 years or something happens, somebody gets sick, somebody can't earn an income, the economy changes, the car breaks, you know what I mean? Technology changes, you decide to change careers, whatever that is, it is so crazy how fast 1, 2, and 3, whatever the most important things are to you, like should totally get flipped. And you're like, whoa, 3 is 1 and 7 is now 1.
Yeah. So Mike doesn't know this, but literally 3 years ago today,
I didn't know.
My dad had a massive stroke, and it came out of nowhere. I had no idea what was going on, right? Didn't expect it, anything like that. And so my life changed forever 3 years ago because I'm his power of attorney, and now I'm in charge of all his finances, his healthcare, all that stuff. And 3 years ago and a day ago, I was not impacted by that at all. And so my priority list completely shifted then.
Yeah. It's incredible how that happens. And obviously I knew there was something going on with your father. I knew that he had the stroke. I knew it had been a pre-existing condition when we came along and had met you, so I knew it was existing. And Byron had explained to me the length of time that it had been, actually the other day when I was talking with him. So I did know that it had been 2 or 3 years, but I didn't know exactly to the day.
So, you know, when you think you can like chill out and relax, you have a big event the next day, right? That's what was happening. I was literally at the nail salon, 7 p.m. and I got a phone call that Dad was on his way to the emergency room. You need to get on the next plane to Illinois. So
you know, those things, no, they definitely happen.
They do.
And I was watching a series on Netflix the other day, and the series was about genetics and genetic engineering. And the point that I'm making here is how expensive some of the things are. They have all these different medications, therapies, costs associated with doing things. And maybe there's a solution to what the current problem is. But all these experimental things are so expensive, they put a cost on it. And the cost is like, how much is your life worth? And it feels really bad. So I won't get into how I feel morally or ethically on that concept, or where I feel as a capitalist on what that could be. But now all of a sudden, there's a real cost associated with each of these things. And it is intense, to say the least. So a couple life events that happened to us where we were dramatically changed that we kind of didn't see coming. We live in our current house today because our youngest son, Trevor, was in 2nd grade. And he used to go, the kids all went to Anderson Elementary over in Plano. And this is just like a sharing session, right? So anyways, the kids are at Anderson and they come home and the principal calls us in and we have a discussion with the principal about our son early in the year, and it continues on that like, hey, so he probably needs to stay where he's at school-wise, and he doesn't need to pass on to the next grade. So we worked like super diligently with our son to try to get him prepared to see what was going on. And we went all through the whole process, and we didn't want him to have the experience where he was retained in the same grade and went back to the same school. So after that discussion, we were leaning towards, okay, fine, we're going to keep him back because that's what somebody else suggested. Okay. So we went out and we actually built a new home, and we moved to have our son stay within the school district but go to a different school so he would not have that experience. And it instantly changed for us. Then we fact-checked some information and went through the whole situation and talked to the teachers, talked to everybody else, did some research, and we ultimately had to make the decision, the executive decision, when it came down to it, is you recommend keeping your son back because of where he happens to be. And I had to ask the question and answer it, are you asking us to hold him back because he can't actually do the work at that grade level, or is he a pain in the ass? And so we had to get down to it. And the answer was, he's immature, and yes, he is a pain in the ass in school. So we had to come to the realization, actually, let's not even hold our son back, because holding him back doesn't change that factor. And he was capable of doing the work. And so we didn't hold him back, and we kept going, and we moved. So we got
we still built a house.
And we still, well, no, but that was already done because it took us that long to go through the whole process. And because they told us early in the year. So anyways, that's how we get a new home. And like, I'm happy with the house. I'm happy with the kids. I'm happy, you know what I mean? But it is weird how one discussion would
One
make
thing can
us
change it.
change that. Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then your whole financial picture changes and shifts off that, because I'm sure when you moved into your new home, lots of different things going on, right? Whole new area, whole new mortgage, all that kind of stuff, right? And so just sitting down and even just doing okay, let's hit the reset button and really talk about and be deliberate about it.
Yeah, and as agents yourself, there's a whole different thing. And we from our side, this is more of a tax thing. But when you are a W-2 wage earner, you earn income at a certain level, and you're taxed at a certain level based on what you earn. You're taxed every single dollar. When you're an independent contractor and you're compensated with a 1099, is what they get.
Yes.
What I sent out is a 1098. It's a don't even worry about the details. Just from me, from the business side. So we send you your 1099. You receive that in the mail, and then that's your income. But now, tax-wise, you have expenses that you can list out underneath that. So this is your gross income. Remember we talked about that the other day. I was talking to them about gross commission income and how it comes in here, and then what you do with it. Then underneath that, there's expenses. But so like where your expenses are, right? So then you want to draw it like way down here, expense-wise, and include everything here. This part is super important as far as expenses go and documenting and putting all together, so that your income's way down. Well, you want your income on paper to be, well, it depends. It's up to you.
Yeah.
But so if your income comes in down here, then you're taxed at this amount. And then you're taxed at this rate, and that becomes your new item. You're taxed down here, not up here. Very, very different. For every positive we get in life, being holistic, then you also have equal and offsetting negatives that go along with that.
So you and I have talked about this before. It's like trying to get qualified for a mortgage when you're an independent contractor and you write off every single expense under the sun. You know, you might gross $300,000 a year and then, or more, right? But you're writing off expenses. And so, now we're down to $25,000 worth of.
Why are you telling them exactly how much you make? $25,000. All right.
Okay. But as an example, though, like you're trying to write it off as much as possible. And so you're getting that income number low, so that, you know, when Uncle Sam comes to collect, he's collecting on that number, not the big number, right?
Yes.
Like, okay. Now, Brandon, are you going to give me a mortgage for $500,000 to do that? No way.
No, the answer is no. You will not get a mortgage. You have to do things differently. Yes. And there's some other things to consider too with healthcare. So then that really changes from our perspective. And I will tell anybody that wants to hear, and if you're on, then you wanted to hear, that one of the best things that's happened to us, the biggest life changes we've actually had in a positive way, was when the Democrats passed Obamacare and put that into action and allowed individuals such as ourselves that are self-employed to be able to buy insurance on a marketplace that covers any, pre-existing conditions and has some options for us to have true insurance at a normal rate with buying power. For year after year after year, we were in all different things that we did not have a truly comprehensive plan that covered everything. There are like medical share programs out there through different organizations, but they have certain limitations on them. There are certain things that cap pre-existing conditions. There's all these different things that we couldn't get into correctly as a family unit with the buying power of one family. Right. And it really, really limited us. So then we went to like all these different plans. Most of the agents that work with us now are fortunate enough that their situation is that they have a spouse, in most cases, whom happens to be on the other side and has insurance there.
Through their employer.
Through their employer, changing that dynamic. But if you don't have it, like we didn't have it because we both worked together, right? That one thing that the Democrats helped us out with was amazing and the biggest difference for us. Mm-hmm. It just gave us a tremendous, tremendous peace of mind for having that opportunity to do that.
Right, absolutely.
So it was a big deal. So there's a lot of things that you as an independent contractor have to think through, and having a person that actually listens and doesn't like speak down to you, that you can have these evolving discussions. Because as it changes, just because you and Lindsey sit down and talk about things, either for yourself or for your clients, realize how often that changes, right? realize how often, if that changes and they reach out to Lindsey first, how Lindsey can tell you certain things that are going on, not breaking confidentiality or trust of the client, however, alerting you like, hey, I did meet with John, right? That's cool, right? That probably should be enough information to queue you up.
Right.
And so one of those things that would be important. As we go through this, we're trying to build an opportunity for you to hear things from different perspectives. We want to have all of our clients have trusted people around them that they hear information from. And we talk a lot, one of the concepts we have here is, passing the praise and allowing other people to talk highly about them. So I can speak highly of Lindsey, that's nice and easy. She can speak highly of Shauna, probably not myself. So she can speak highly of Shauna and say like, hey, she's amazing, and talk about that, but they start hearing better things. But more importantly, if we envelop them, I always use that word now, with the financial advisor and Lindsey and Byron, and they make that connection there. They talk with Brandon, they talk with Kyle, right? All these people are true professionals. Do you enjoy working with Kyle from a business perspective?
Absolutely. Kyle and I have actually spoken a lot about clients. Like Kyle and I can do it on a confidentiality basis because we're referral partners, right? So let's say that a client comes to me, they are interested in lowering their monthly expenses. I now have tools in my toolbox to say, okay, I've got Kyle that can look at them from a property and casualty perspective. Kyle has done that with a number of my clients already, where he's saved them money on the property and casualty insurance. And that's awesome. We have a great working relationship there. Brandon is somebody that I can go to for, let's say I've got a client on my end that comes through my channel, and I know that their mortgage rate is too high, because that is definitely something we talk about in every client meeting. I can refer to Brandon and say, hey, I trust you, please help them, right? Vice versa.
Yeah.
And so there's lots of different synergies there between the three of us. And so I think it's cool. We all have a really great working relationship together. I mean, I don't go to bro lunch, but
no, she does not go to bro lunch. People want to get an invite. The table was really full. We were all totally jammed in there. We have a standing reservation for a table of 6 at bro lunch, and people come and people go, and they don't always show up all the time. Maybe they have there's a core group, but we have individuals that show up at different levels. This is like an inside info. And we happen to have, I think, like 9 bros jammed in a table for 6. So did you know that Byron shares a meal with Brandon?
I just heard
they have this super weird relationship that one gets one thing and one gets a salad, and they sit there and they split it, and it sounds I think I have a comment over here. If somebody's telling me don't be sharing that type of info. Don't worry. All right. No, you totally didn't get an invite.
No.
She tried to.
So funny thing about the meal sharing, so Byron and I are financial advisors. Y'all know this, right? So we have games that we play with money.
Okay.
And they're not like typical games. Like we don't gamble or things like that. But like when we go to the grocery store, for instance, we try to see how cheaply we can get out of the grocery store.
Okay.
So like the other day we went to Kroger.
Okay.
We bought like 10 pounds of chicken.
Okay.
Milk, eggs, something else. I don't remember. There's a couple other things, miscellaneous items. My bill was $17.
Wow.
Because we shop off the sale ads, right? Like it's a thing. We go to Chipotle. I love Chipotle.
Yeah, I had it yesterday, actually.
Right. Did you eat the whole bowl yourself?
I used I ordered through the app, and I ate the whole bowl on my own.
Bowl.
Yeah.
Why?
What? Because it was really good, and because I don't get that much in it. Do you want to know what I actually had? No. Anyways.
Anyway, the point is, we share meals a lot because it's so expensive to buy. Like one plate of food at a restaurant is about $20 a person, right? Well, first of all, we don't need that much food, and second of all, we split meals all the time, and restaurants happily do that for you now. But we play games like that, and we'll say when we're shopping through the grocery store, let's say that you've got a bag of, I don't know, give me an item at the grocery store.
Corn.
You got a bag of corn.
Frozen corn.
And a bag of frozen corn is $1.65.
Okay.
But the Kroger brand is
more.
It's
more. It's weird. No,
it's more. No, it should be less.
Okay.
Anyway, guess what?
Yeah.
My math is pretty good.
Your math's good?
My math's pretty good. So I can reason through this.
All right, well.
Why would I pay $1.65 when I can pay $1 For that same bag of corn.
Well, let me share how Mike does that. So you go to I have a different value. I have a different value system than you're currently putting there, right? So you and the picture you painted is like you and Byron like holding hands, walking through the supermarket and picking out different items. And that's important.
It's really just Byron by himself. I hate the grocery store.
So that's important time. That's important time to you, right? If that's the case. I don't value that experience. So rather what I do financially is I subscribe to Instacart, which everyone knows that I highly endorse that. So I pay $99 a year for the membership, and then I can get stuff from anywhere delivered to me. I hate the word anywhere, from most local markets. Stores. And they send me they send it right to me. I can get it with 1 hour delivery. And what I've found is I don't have any impulse purchases anymore. And that really actually helps me. So the $99 a year and the free delivery is 100% worth it. The $35 minimum saves me a lot of time. I put the value on my time and being able to do more or different things that I appreciate as opposed to going to the store. So maybe I'm, not price shopping as many things, but I'm not putting anything unnecessary in the cart as well, which is a different way to look at it. And then I'm also not going and paying gas and whatever else.
Right. So I also love Instacart. I'm trying to bring Byron along, but like he really loves to go to Walmart. I think
and that's
because,
fine.
Do you all know, like, there's a street in, I think it's Hickory. Is that the one that's by Walmart? I don't know what it is. I think it's
downtown Frisco.
Yeah, downtown Frisco.
Yeah, I know that.
There's a guy that sits out there and he waves at everybody. We call him Mr. Wave.
Really?
Yeah, I think that's why Byron likes to go to the store, because he gets to wave at Mr. Wave.
All right. Well, that's good.
Anyway.
Yeah?
We're really good at math. And so we don't spend money frivolously because we're really good at math.
Okay.
And so we'll just be like, math is too good for that.
All right. So here's another last thing and we're done here. And so this was a point that Sean and I actually sat back and pondered recently, and I talked to our son about it. So you guys are aware that our son Tanner is currently getting his PhD, and we're super proud of him. And we talked through that whole system. So he goes through undergraduate, and luckily he goes through, and it only took him 3 years to get through. And so that was our obligation to help him work through that. So as he gets done with school and he goes off and he gets into that program in Paris and gets his master's, it was a sponsored program where they pay for everything, including the school, including living expenses, and he gets a compensation package. And my wife and I thought about it, and we said, okay, cool. If he didn't get that compensation package, and if he had that opportunity to go to France for a year and everything that you can, all those opportunities that gets, it was 1 year and you get a master's. That one financially, we voted that if we had to pay for him to have went there, that we would have done that, because it was going from an undergraduate degree to a master's in 1 year and cost and whatever. And we were like, okay, fine, we would have done that. And then we sat back, and then he gets accepted to Columbia. And secretly, this is one of like his dreams. He saw my Ivy League diploma and Amy's Ivy League diploma on the wall. And he always wanted to go there. And I always had to like not break his heart, but when the time came around, I had to be like, hey, so like somebody actually pays for that. So that's why we're staying in state. And it's far and it's expensive, and the cost associated with it is this, right? And so when he was applying to PhD programs, and he got accepted there, and he got to check off one of the boxes that he really wanted. That was an important item to him, and the quality and caliber and what they gave him. So the PhD program he's approved for up to 7 years to stay there. Yes, but he's not, hopefully doesn't. He has plans to get out in 4.5 years with a PhD. But we had to sit down and say, as amazing as that is for him to have that opportunity to get accepted into, right? Mm-hmm. Would we have then also said yes to that if he wasn't on a scholarship or fully sponsored program?
Yeah.
So the package that he has there, Columbia, you can look it up and see the cost of education to go there for just tuition. Then you can add in that it's in New York City.
Right.
And so room and board in Manhattan, next to Central Park by the Hudson River. Yeah. And figure out what that is and do all the math. And then he's not covered by our insurance here. Well, he's covered by our insurance, but he has to physically be here the way the plans work. So he's actually not covered up there.
Right.
So that creates a whole problem. And when my wife and I sit down and we say, would we have encouraged him to do that, knowing what we would have had to financially pay out and how long it would be, an income that he would make on a career basis to go from a master's to a PhD is incremental. It's significant, but it's not as consequential as going from 4-year to a master's, especially considering the time and the expense associated with it. So luckily somebody else is paying, so we didn't have to have that difficult conversation, because we would have said no.
Because it's too expensive.
No, I mean, so it's a real thing.
It's a real thing.
To tell your son that, like, no, if that's not a paid for program, that we can't afford $100,000 a year on top of what we've already done, for you to continue for 5 years if everything, 4.5, 5 years if everything goes well, and maybe up to 7 years if things aren't like perfect. So good thing he is fully funded. Good thing that somebody else pays for it. Good thing to him that he's doing really well, and he has a Roth IRA, and he fully funds his Roth IRA as a college student on an annual basis with his income from Columbia.
Yeah. By the way, pro tip here.
Yes.
If you have children,
yes,
they should be working in your business, even if it's just feeding a shredder machine for you, because you can fund their Roth IRAs.
Yes, you have to go through it and do it correctly, and we did that from a very young age with our kids.
If you need help with that.
And it's a write-off to you to bring your income down.
Absolutely.
So I don't get involved into tax advice for you guys, just because that's a wall that I don't want to cross, like church and state kind of. And so, yeah.
But I'll help you work with your CPA to make sure that you're maximizing your expenses.
Yeah, no,
in the appropriate way.
It's really important. So thank you guys very much. There's a lot to this. What I really wanted you to see is, in this situation, in this relaxed environment, I'm able to talk through a lot of things with Lindsey. I'm hopeful that you also see it from your perspective, that having all these quality people around and spending time with them at the events we have, getting to know Kyle more, you don't think it's important, because you're like, I don't directly refer to health insurance, right? Like, why is this lady always here?
Who is she?
Yeah, what does she even do?
Exactly.
But so the reason for that is we want you to have quality people around that can help refer stuff back. Imagine with all the transactions we close, how often Kyle picks up on something over a course of like a decade, right? And how much more of that comes back. Circling around, it does have huge, huge benefits. We're trying to do the right things for everybody, and start with leadership and guidance, and I think we'll get there. So I'm Mike, we're completed.
Thank you
guys very much. See you tomorrow.